What's up, everybody? What's up? What's up? What's up? I'm 20 minutes late before anybody says it. But welcome back to another segment of the Late Night Show, Dr. Kojo. I'm checking in from what was a sunny day, sunny but cold day here in LA. And I'm happy that it's not flooding and raining anymore, at least for a couple of days. So I'm happy to be here, and we have a interesting topic. I hope I'm answering a question that was posed to me. When I got this question, it was like maybe the first or second day of the new year. Somebody wanted to know the similarities between ADHD and bipolar disorder. So the way I phrased the title was things that you may do if you have ADHD or bipolar disorder. So we're gonna get into it, but before we do that, you know how we have to start it off each and every time. We have to introduce ourselves. So in the comment section, let me know where you're checking in from. And of course, I should see your name. So right here is a small little blubber about me. And then now I want to know a little bit about you. You see Damien or Damien. Okay. What's up? What's up? How you doing? Maddie says, hey, hey, those make me laugh. What's up, Maddie? How you doing? Australia, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania. Oh, Mickey Fakey. Wisconsin, Pennsylvania. Kendra's one of our moderators. Kendra, I appreciate you. Westbrook, Maine, Missouri. Hope you saw my post and subscriber hub. Jacqueline, I haven't seen it. Did somebody say something about me? Is it something good? I hope they said good things. I'm not sure what happened. Louisiana, Georgia in the house, Texas in the house, Orlando in the house. Pay attention to Twitch, please. Hey, Joanna, I see England in the house. Mrs. Wendy Gibson, how are you doing? Milwaukee in the house. Shannon from Madison, Wisconsin. Esther from Canada. Phoenix, Arizona. Virginia. Corpus Christi, UK. Baton Rouge, Colorado. Is it common to have both? So Channing, I don't know if it's when you say common, I don't know what you mean by common. I'm kind of judged on a different basis. So I'm not sure what common means. I'm not trying to be too technical, but you can have both. But a common, at least from what I've seen, is normally one or the other. But I've had patients who've had both ADHD and bipolar disorder. Sarah, living La Vida, bipolar type 2. What's up, Sarah? How you doing? Are you linking? Oh no, Miss Bonnie, I'm going to explain. So this is going to be. I got 4 things for you all. 4 similarities between ADHD and bipolar disorder. So if you have either one, these are 4 things that you may do. Michelle says Cincinnati. You're a Bengals fan. I want to like you, but you're a Bengals fan. I'll let you have it. I have bipolar 1. Awesome, awesome. I feel like it should be one or the other, but I don't know. So Channing, I used to think that way too when I was in school. I was like, shouldn't it be one or the other? But it's not that simple sometime, right? Virginia in the house, New Mexico in the house, Hampton Roads. Okay, that's my old stomping grounds. And Christopher says, I am beating my anxiety and depression, but my ADHD keeps me always forgetting stuff. It's so stressful. Well, hey, Chris, you beat 2 out of 3. So if you were a baseball player, you would be an all-star, right? Because that's a 67%. That's good. All right, let me see what my publicist is saying. 1 second. Hey, yeah, that sounds good. It's all good. I think it works with the video. So I could do that whichever way you want. Yeah. Sorry, y'all. Got to work while I'm on live. And Christopher says he is a baseball player. All right, so Chris, we'll give you the first love of the show. That clap is sometimes a little bit too loud for y'all, so I'll try not to make it too loud. All right. Amber's from Santa Monica, LA. All right, let's get into it. So if things that you may do if you have ADHD or bipolar disorder, the first one on my list is Chris, I appreciate you. Thank you, my guy. Yeah, I need you to play baseball. The first thing that is on the list is you may talk fast. You're a little I'm weak. All right, so if you have ADHD or bipolar disorder, something that you might do is talk fast, right? And let's start off with ADHD, right? So sometimes with ADHD, it's not that you're always talking fast, but you may have a hard time socializing with people. So sometimes you may have a lot that's on your mind and you may talk fast because you're trying to get it out. Or sometimes you may talk over people or sometimes you might feel like you're not, smooth as you would like to be in social situations. So sometimes with ADHD, and I mean, I catch myself doing this sometimes where I'm just talking so fast, I'm talking a mile a minute. But the people who are around me know how I talk, But growing up, my grandma would be like, my grandma would have my sister translate for me, and I was speaking English the whole time, but she was acting like she couldn't hear what I was saying, right? So that's on the ADHD side of things. And then for the bipolar side of things, so sometimes when people get either hypomanic or manic, you'll do this thing where you might not notice it, but somebody else might notice it before you, right? So you're just talking and you feel like you're having a regular conversation, and then people might just look at you like, yo, like they might just like watch you and say, okay, are you done talking? Like there's a nice way of saying, you know, there's a nice way of saying that you might be talking too much or too fast, right? So sometimes people don't really say, um, you're talking fast. They'll be like, no, you have a lot to say, right? And sometimes I see this a lot with hypomania, right? And hypomania is what we see in bipolar too, where it's not as quite severe. So you don't really go to the hospital with hypomania, but normally with mania, like if you're having a full blown manic episode, it's noticeable, right? Like you're talking really fast. They call it pressured speech, or at least that's what I was taught in school. Like you feel like you have so much to say and you have to say it in this amount of time, because if you don't say it in this amount of time, like you won't be able to say it, or you might feel like you're going to forget it. Amber says, I do that now. I always feel so rude. Am I doing it now? No. Amber, you're typing. I don't think you're typing fast. And Monica says, oh my gosh, my grandpa would always say, slow down, I can't understand you. Yeah, Monica, your grandpa must have dated my grandma in like another universe. And Teresa says, my wife always notices before me. So I like what Teresa said here, because a lot of times it's not you who pick up, like, I mean, you might pick up on it, but sometimes people will pick up on it around you. They'll say things like, dang, you're kind of talking a little fast, or if you're in a social situation, and you have good people around you, they may pull you aside and just kind of check in and be like, hey, is everything good? So sometimes people around us pick up on it before we do. And chances I interrupt people without meaning to. Yeah, I do this all the time, but I catch myself. So when I do it, I'll be like, oh, my bad, because like I'm not gonna focus on trying to stop interrupting people. I'm just gonna do my best, and then when I mess up, I'm just gonna apologize for it. And boss just told me that I interrupt a lot. I blurt out what I'm thinking, and then I feel like crap. Well, there's nothing. The only thing that's wrong with that sentence is you feeling like crap. Just be like, hey, I messed up, and just keep it going. April says the doc is live again. Miss seeing your lives. Hey, April, I appreciate you. We're back. I'm happy to be on the live stream. I hate it when I'm too bored. I need things to do. The lion says, LOL, talk fast and talk too much. Yeah, and I'm gonna guess if when y'all were in elementary school, y'all probably had comments, teachers saying things like, talks too much or talks a lot, interrupts people, because that's what my second grade report card said. So if y'all can relate to, either the ADHD or bipolar disorder, then you may have had that experience. Joanne says, no, screw it, I'll go to Facebook. Joanne, so the majority of people here are from Facebook, but I see you on Twitch. I see the comments just come in fast, so sometimes I can't catch everybody, right? Pressured speech. Yep. All right. So the second thing that you may do if you have ADHD or bipolar disorder, let me type it in here. Time. All right. So you may have a hard time going to sleep, right? AKA insomnia. And Samantha says every report card. Yeah, Samantha, I can relate to you too. All right, so you may have a hard time going to sleep if you have ADHD or bipolar disorder. So I'll start with the ADHD side of things. A lot of times you may have racing thoughts when you have ADHD, right? Or you may have more than one thought at a time, right? So you're thinking a lot of thoughts, you're not sure which one to say, or you might start talking about one thing, and then you jump to the next topic, and then you jump to the next topic. We call that like circumstantial, like a thought process, right? Where you kind of go around, or tangential, where you're like kind of like all over the place, right? But with ADHD, sometimes it's hard to go to sleep, right? Because you're always like you, not always, but a lot of times you feel like you're behind, and when you're behind on things, you come to things late. Like for example, I came to this live stream 22 minutes late, and one of the moderators texted me 5 minutes before and said, you're live in like 5 to 10 minutes," and I'm like, yeah. So like I had to replan to be on time, but I came in, I had to reorganize my desk, and my dog is jumping up and down, and I had to get some stuff from the car for filming tomorrow. So, I just, I'm running behind. So if I keep this up, I may go to bed late tonight, and this is how it is, So sometimes, you do what you can, and, you do your best to make some progress. And Laura, on the other hand, said, I can sleep anytime. Okay. I wish I could. I wish I could. And Belinda says, yes, insomnia. So going to the bipolar side of things, a lot of times, uh, let's say you're on the upper end, right? The either hypomanic or manic side of bipolar disorder. You can have a hard time sleeping for many different reasons, and you all, if you can relate, y'all can drop some of the reasons in, because I like to read, and I like to see what's on you all's mind. But a couple things come to mind. You could be up at night because you're playing a lot of ideas in your head. Because sometimes, especially when people get hypomanic, you have all these ideas you want to do. And the worst thing about it is that you probably aren't able to prioritize it. So you just want to do this right here. You want to do that. You want to do this. You want to do that. And you have all these amazing things that you want to do. And because you're trying to do all of it, like you may be up at night thinking, you may have racing thoughts. And of course, with mania, sometimes you don't sleep at all for days on end. And I've seen people, normally when people come to the hospital and they're in a manic episode, like I don't get to have a conversation with them for real until like maybe the third or fourth day, because the first 2 or 3 days that they come, they just sleep for the most part because they haven't been sleeping. So once they get that sleep in, and then maybe on like the third day, then we can have a conversation like, hey, how are you doing? You got something to eat? How's your day? How'd you end up in the hospital? Do you remember what you're doing? And then we kind of go through the whole process, right? And let me see. He needs us reminder. Oh yeah, I'll take reminders. And Crystalline says insomnia because too much energy. I can relate to that. Let me see. But why can't I take my ADD medicine and fall asleep better than if I don't? So Channing, I don't know the answer to this, to be honest with you, but sometimes meds have a paradoxical effect where it's like you could take Benadryl and it could keep you up, and then you can take Adderall and it can make you go to sleep. It's not supposed to work like that, but sometimes, sometimes life is backwards. Marquia says, I'm manic bipolar and sleep is such a problem. Yeah, and sleep is important. Sleep is very important. And Jazzy says, right now, can't sleep. Well, you can't sleep because you're on the live stream, but hopefully, well, I mean, if you have to go to sleep, hopefully you can get some sleep. All of these live streams are going to be, that's the difference between TikTok and Facebook. Like, I have no preference, but on Facebook, like, we can keep these live streams. Like, I never delete them unless I have a guest and the guest wants me to pull it, but otherwise, I'll never delete it. And Marilee says, true story, work week is like one long day. You know what? I've actually had patients describe like a week as one long day before. So I've seen that before. Just put me in the rubber room. What does that mean? Alexa says, I would go 6 to 10 days, no sleep without meds, then crash. Yeah. And normally during the crash, that's where, you're able to get the help. Hopefully you're somewhere where you can get help, right? The line says, can't sleep and feel like it's childhood trauma from my parents' divorce. Oh, wow. This could be true. This could be true. And I mean, this is your perspective. Dang, it's funny how things that happen to you when you're 7, can stay with you when you're, 27, 37. Catherine says, how do you know if you have bipolar with no manic episodes? So there's a lot of people who say different things on the internet, but at least the way I was taught in school, I don't know if things have changed since I've been in California, but if you have a manic episode, then it's not bipolar disorder, right? So if there's no mania, there's no bipolar. So that's the difference between ADHD and bipolar disorder. If there's no mania, then it's not bipolar disorder. So that's a, like, if people say how you tell the difference between ADHD and bipolar disorder, the first thing I would say is ADHD, you don't have a manic episode or a hypomanic episode. But the tricky thing is that if you're up at night because you have like a lot of thoughts and you're overly stressed because you're always overwhelmed because of ADHD, you might think that you're manic, right? But that's a good question. That's a good question. That's a really good question. I'll give you a love of the show for that. That's a good question. Jessica says, I always get afraid when I'm manic because I know the crash is coming. And what Jessica says is very important here because a lot of people will recognize this, right? So, like, I've known patients who they know that they're about to go manic, right? I don't like that phrase, go manic. It doesn't sound good. They know that they're about to become manic, right? And sometimes the first thing that they'll do is they'll take their wallet and they'll give it to a friend, or they'll give it to a parent or to a spouse, because they get this sudden urge to just blow cash or just max out your credit card, right? So it's all about self-awareness, right? Can you have both? Sarah, yes, you can. And Jazza, yeah, it depends on type 1 and type 2. So I think I'm going to have to, because I thought about this, I'm going to have to take like maybe a week or a month out of the year, maybe May, during Mental Health Awareness Month. And then we can really go through like all the basics, because sometimes I come out here and I try and be funny, and then I realize that y'all have never, like, some people who are new have never like heard the basics. So we probably may review all the basics in May. But yes, depends on type 1 or 2 with bipolar disorder. Because technically, with mania, you have to be manic for 7 days, at least 7 days, to have bipolar 1. But if they put you in a psych hospital after like a day or two because you're manic, then they automatically call it bipolar 1. And the reason why they do that is because mania is dangerous. So they don't want you driving your car like 100 miles per hour, or they don't want you engaging in risky behaviors that can have negative consequences. So if the mania lands you in psych hospital and it's before a week, then it's automatically bipolar 1. That's what, the doctor will give you as a diagnosis, more than likely. But if you're like not all the way manic, and if it's hypomania for like at least 4 days, then it would be bipolar 2. But if you're confused, don't feel bad, because I remember being in school and I used to ask the doctor to try and differentiate bipolar 1 and 2, and like it took me like a week to really get it. Like I couldn't get it. Of course, it's in-depth training, but it took me a while to get it. So don't feel bad if it takes you a while. And Dustin said, the Adderall causes hypomania for me, so I can't stay on it for more than a couple of months. Oh, sometimes, things like Adderall and Ritalin will keep you up, so it's important to know what will keep you up, so that's why self-awareness is so important. Sometimes it's sometimes people's stimulants will keep them up. Sometimes there's alcohol. Sometimes it's marijuana that will keep you up. Tends to keep a lot of people up, the marijuana one. Mania is a pretty good indicator. I was diagnosed over and over with depression until I was caught in psychosis. Oh, Nicole. So a lot of people, I've seen this happen a lot of times, to where, like, if you show up to the hospital and you appear to be depressed, and I'm not saying that you had a bad doctor. Don't nobody clip out something and say that Nicole's doctor was bad. But if you go to the doctor and you appear to be depressed, they may just diagnose you with depression, right? But if they ask more and probe, they may see that there's a manic episode that had gone like, unnoticed. But a lot of times when psychosis presents, people are usually like in the middle of a full-blown manic episode. Usually. Joanne says that they use indica for rest and sleep. Yeah, so look, I'm here in California where it's legal, and of course, it's not legal everywhere. So I try and limit the cannabis conversation. But some people live in states where they can't get like a indica or sativa or a hybrid. You really just go to the plug around the corner and hope that they give you what you want, right? So that's why, you got to be careful. I just tell everybody to be careful and, to use your judgment and to only put things into your body that your doctor has given you. That's the safest thing, right? That's the safest thing. All right. And the third thing that you may do if you have ADHD or bipolar disorder, you may struggle with finances, right? So you may struggle with finances. This is the third one right here. Um, Let me look at people's comments real quick. Um, Christopher said weed makes him panic like crazy. Oh yeah, no, um, yeah, it can make you very paranoid, right? That's why because people are always saying it can cannabis be helpful, and I think it can. And once again, until it's a federal thing, there's probably only so much that I want to talk about it. But until it becomes a federal thing, we can only do so much. But the reason why cannabis is not a one size fits all is because for people who have schizophrenia and or bipolar disorder, I would tell my patients to be very careful, because sometimes, like, I had patients who would, like, they were just smoking with their friends, and like a day or two later they ended up in the hospital and they had to chill with me. And of course we try to make it fun, and we gave them their meds, and I try to play PlayStation with them. But if you don't want to, if you don't have to go to the psych hospital, you wouldn't want to. All right. So the third thing I said is you may struggle with finances, right? So with ADHD, um, it's difficult to plan. So you have a hard time planning things out. So how can you follow a budget if you can't plan? And this is something that I struggle with as well. So, like, once again, it's about self-awareness, because I know this and I happen to have a team. I let them handle things, so that way I never get caught lacking. Because if it was left up to me, I would like, if it was left up to me, like, I have a PlayStation in this room, I got an Xbox in the living room, but if I didn't have help, if I didn't have somebody helping me manage my finances, I would probably buy like another PlayStation and put it, I don't know, like, I just like buying things. So I have a system and things in place, so that way, I don't really ever go over a budget, because somebody is helping me out. Kind of like you help out a kid, like sometimes you have to spoon feed kids things, right? So I'm an adult, and I don't have any shame saying that I have to, get help. And of course, I have assistants and publicists and things like that. But that's how I make sure that I don't go over my budget. And then when I don't go over my budget, I always have money left over because I didn't buy 4 PlayStations, right? So with ADHD, you can struggle with planning, you can struggle with finances. And of course, the same thing about bipolar disorder too. But what I see with bipolar disorder is normally and for me, I don't mind talking about myself. To my knowledge, I don't think I've ever had a manic episode, right? I don't know. My psychiatrist hasn't told me that. But in a full blown manic episode, a lot of times people from the outside looking in, it looks really fun, like you're blowing a lot of money, you're driving fast, you're doing risky things, you might, be jumping from cliffs and diving into things that give you a thrill, but you can have serious consequences for these things, right? And one thing that people do a lot is they may spend a lot of money, right? They might blow their, savings or max out your credit card, right? So if you know that you do things like this and you feel like you're starting to get, manic, and Nicole says retail therapy, yes, it can be helpful to, I'm not sure what Bank of America and Wells Fargo and Chase do. Sometimes you can put like a limit on your card, or sometimes it's just as simple as taking your credit card and giving it to somebody else, because that way you can't use it, right? So there's so many ways you can work around it. Dustin said maybe that's the reason why I got a bunch of sneakers, Xbox, PS5, a Switch, and a Quest. So Dustin, maybe so. But at the same time, Dustin, you might just like these things, right? I don't know, maybe I have 30 sneakers there, and I only have 2 feet. I got Xbox, PS5. I don't have a Switch, and I have a Quest that Facebook gave me. But yeah, if you enjoy those things, then maybe you just enjoy it, right? Martina says I can do a bunch of things under manic circumstances, but as soon as I bottom out, I can't do shit. Right. So Martina, that's the thing that is kind of frustrating about bipolar disorder, right? Because if you're manic, you might have all the energy in the world to do everything, and then you might have like 2 or 3 weeks where you can't like barely get out of bed, right? So sometimes people really just wait until they get manic to do these things. Let me see. Let me see. My assistant. Um, 1 second. My videographer said something. Multiple shots. 1 second, y'all. Kevin, just tell Thomas to let's have like different clips that is 14 seconds all the way through, so it's a good viewing experience for the viewer. But we just can't do more than 7 seconds at one time. So like maybe like a 6 second blurb and then cut back to being like another 6, 7 or 7 second blurb, if that makes sense. Yeah. All right. Okay. I'm all over the place, but this is my life. I like being all over the place. Let me see. I have jobs that pay under the table for this reason. I feel the same as you. Respect, Monica. No worries. And ADHD middle-aged women and identified. Rebecca, we'll have a live stream about this. We'll have a live stream about ADHD in women, and we can dedicate a whole week to it. I promise y'all. And moderators, please remind me. We'll have like a whole ADHD in women week. I promise y'all. And now I said it on live stream. I have to do it. And Chang says my depressive episodes last way longer than my hypomania does. And this is what I've seen as well, you know, which is why it's like sometimes I feel like if people realize that they're starting to get manic or hypomanic, you try and do as much as you can. Like you might cram like a month's worth of work into a week because you know that next week you won't be able to do anything, you know. And I used to put my cards in a block of ice. Oh wow. So you put your cards in a block of ice to prevent overspending. Oh wow. It might not be a bad idea. So Tracy, I have a question. After you put your card in a block of ice, does it work anymore? Or and now like with the cards, we have like the little chip on it where you have to put it in. Like I'm not sure if that works, but I'm actually curious. So the card, okay, wow. Tracy, I'll give you a love of the show. I want to do that, but I'm a little afraid. I'm afraid that my card won't work, and I'll have to call Bank of America, and then they'll have to send me another card, and I'm gonna have to like, you know, memorize that, you know, card again. And Joanna, can you elaborate? Uptake. Can you elaborate? Did I miss something? Kendra says, I'm the opposite. I can't keep cash on me or else I'll spend it. If it's in my bank account, I don't see the money, so I won't spend it. So Kendra, I'll probably, yeah, I think you are the opposite because I think I was watching like a Dave Ramsey, and I'm not saying Dave Ramsey's the financial guru. I just watched like a YouTube video, and he said that there's research that shows that if you have cash on you, like you're using cash, you'll spend less money than you'll spend if you're using your card. I think that's true from like for myself, but I see how, you know, it's the opposite for you. Welcome to the Squirrel Club. Mike, I like this. Life is all over the place, right? Yeah, it is. It is. And Christina says, I have a manic day of house cleaning. They can't move for a week. Oh, okay. All right. And Christina, I said Christine, my bad. I believe you here, but I want people to know that if you feel manic for one day, unless you land in a psych hospital, it wouldn't be like a full-blown manic episode. But I know what you mean, where you have a day where you can just do everything, and then the next day you're like, or the next week you're like, I can't even get from room A to room B, but I just, you know, I'm gonna wait till the next time I have all the energy, and then I'll just clean the house all in one. So Tracy says, if you put it in a plastic baggie first. Wow. I've never heard this. Wow. I'm today years old learning this. You can put your card into a plastic bag with water, and then you can freeze it. Okay, wow. You put it in plastic bag. or you put it in bag to keep it safe. Wait, so you take the card, right? So this is I mean, this is a Delta Sky Miles card, so it's not my credit card. But you take the card, you put it into a bag, and then you ice it. I might do it with this card just to, I'm curious. Like, I don't know. I want to play around with that. I want to play around with that. Alicia says, I've learned to embrace my mag times. This is good. If you can, some people can use Maya to their advantage, right? If you can use it to your advantage and figure out how to keep yourself safe, then you should be good, right? Because the main thing is make sure you're safe. Denise, I appreciate you. I appreciate you, Miss O'Neill. And Ricky says, why does your psych doctor ask you questions like today's date or spell world backwards? Is dehumanizing. Okay, Ricky, I respect this. I can see why you feel this way, but the reason why we're supposed to do this is we're trying to see people's, cognition. So if I ask you, hey, what's the date, and you say December 4th, right? Then I'm like, oh, is the person confused? Like, I need to know if you're oriented, right? So if you tell me, say it's Thursday, January 12th, I'm like, okay, the person, they know where they're at. These are just standard questions that we ask in the hospital. And I used to ask these questions even when I was in the ICU, as a neuro ICU RN, I used to ask these questions all the time. And yeah, sometimes when you go to the psych hospital, they'll ask you to spell world backwards. And it's funny because I would ask the patients that, and then the patients would say DLROW, like I already know it because I've asked this question a million times. And sometimes I'll be like DLR, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. But I mean, if you say it's dehumanizing, I'm not saying that that's not. I'm not trying to not validate your experience, but that's just why we ask those questions. And all right. So Alexis, yes, when we talk about bipolar disorder, it can get more complicated, right? So you have mixed states, right? So somebody could be manic and also depressed. You have rapid cycling, which is where you have more than 4 episodes in a year. You have cyclothymia, which is where you're not quite bipolar 1 or 2, but you're not quite depressed. So yeah, I'm doing my best to like kind of make it like simple, but without sound like I'm over simplifying it. Leline says, Coder, people used to put military IDs in ICE if you left it somewhere where you shouldn't have, so you have to either get a new one or you you have to wait for the ICE to melt. Oh wow, there's a whole military culture that I might just start watching YouTube videos and just start learning about this stuff. Wow. All right, and oh shoot, yeah, 30-minute. Yeah, my mouth is getting dry. Once somebody puts the magic word in, we'll have the water break. Lance's question real quick. Can you be bipolar and cycle weekly? I mean, so Tara, kind of technically, right? But it just depends, right? It depends. Some people are rapid cyclers, right? But it's not, at least in my experience, I haven't seen people cycle that quickly, that often. Our cheers. Let's get some water in. I drink water like my dog. I be just trying to drink it so fast. Carle, is that how you say it? Carle. And Christopher says, do you ever sit back and think about how big of an impact you've had on people, like ever since finding you have been addicted? Truly lifesaver. Well, I appreciate that. And the answer is no, I don't like to do that because it's just weird, because I don't like to think too much about what I'm doing because I'm still doing it. Like maybe once I retire and I move to a farm in Tennessee, maybe I can sit back and look at it. But it's kind of like an athlete. Like I'm still playing. Like I'm still doing this. So every now and then, like at night, I will read some of the DMs and I'll screenshot it, take out the name, and send it to my mom. So like I want my parents to be proud of me. So I said it to my parents so that they can be proud of me. So from that perspective, I kind of think about it, but I don't want to think too much about it because like I don't want to get like too high up. It's kind of weird, because it's like I'm still like I'm not done doing what I gotta do. Come here, Shasty. Come here, Shasty. I'm not done doing what I gotta do, but I appreciate you all. Look at this dog. Look at hey, chill, so Vicky. All right, we have yeah, Jennifer. I don't want to get too cocky. I want to be confident, but I don't want to be too cocky. Uh, uh, yeah, that's my dog right there. All right, so we still have one more to go, though. We still got one more to go. One thing that you may do if you have ADHD or bipolar disorder, and the last one, number 4, you may be impulsive. Look at Shicey's face. I like it when people call her Shicey because I'm like, that's what my family calls her now. Did you get a new retainer yet? Jacqueline, I didn't get a new retainer. They're making it for me. But when you have Invisalign, sometimes when you lose one, you can go back to the old one. So I went back to the old one and it's loose. And I mean, I'm not wearing it now, but I'll wear it because I'll go get something to eat after this, and then I'll put it back in. All right. So number 4, you may be impulsive, right? So the reasons why you might be impulsive could differ. And I think somebody mentioned borderline personality disorder up top, and I missed it. The comments were coming in fast. That's another condition where you may be impulsive. And when it comes to ADHD, you might be impulsive because like a lot of times with ADHD, we either do things if we're interested in it, or if we have no interest at all, we'll never do it, right? But you get this sudden surge of inspiration sometimes. And for me, I might get it like at 1 or 2 a.m. where I'm like, oh, and it might be like a Saturday night where I'm like, okay, I want to do these ideas. And then I'm happy because it's Saturday night. The only thing I have to get up for on Sunday is football, so I can do that. But like Monday through Friday, I can't be up that late because it's going to interrupt my workout schedule in the morning. But you may be impulsive, with ADHD. You might just have like a desire to do something, and it could be a good thing or it can be a bad thing. And sometimes when you hear that word, you kind of think of it as a bad thing, but it can be a good thing if you can channel it properly, right? And likewise with bipolar disorder, especially in the midst of a manic or hypomanic episode, you may get an impulsive desire to do something. And depends. Sometimes that impulsive desire is I want to cheat on my partner, and not that you do the thing, but you may have that thought where you're like, all right, I have to, or you may have an impulsive desire to go buy a whole bunch of stuff because you think you may need it later. And then after you come down, you're like, I don't need this stuff. But then by then you lost the receipt, or if you're like me, when I buy things that I don't need, sometimes I'm stuck with it because I'm too lazy to, take it back. I'm like, all right, I'm just gonna find a need for this. Like I'm gonna have to figure something out, you know. Pisha says you aren't alone. I have 6 piles of clothes I need to fold. Hey, Pisha, hey, I got clothes right here too. Maybe not 6 piles, but I got some clothes I gotta fold. A lot of people get borderline personality disorder and bipolar confused. Would you agree? Andre, or I never know if it's Andrea or Andrea, but yeah, these are probably the two that people get confused the most from what I've seen. Nicole, is there such a thing as mild ADHD? No, it's either you have it or you don't, but some people are more affected by it than others, if that makes sense. Christopher says, being impulsive is a big buzzkill for me. Really upsets me a lot. I'll buy a $400 microscope and use it once. Nah, that's me right there. I bought a steamer the other day, but the steamer I'll use it because I need it. But I bought a steamer and I haven't used it like over a month ago. So when you buy things, if you can put a use to it, it's fine. But you don't want to beat yourself up because that's the worst thing about it. And now I don't really like. The good thing for me is I don't like buying things, so I don't, and I stay out of Target, for my own mental health because I'm going to start buying, stuff that I don't need. But if you buy something and you can't take it back, hey, do your best to try and maybe, turn a microscope into something that can help out somebody else. Should I see? I have this intrusive thought. Well, it's not intrusive thought, but I have this desire every now and then. I'm like, I'm gonna take her somewhere for a month and give myself a break. I'm super impulsive and a planner at the same time. I have a long term plan, but in the moment I'm impulsive. That makes sense to me, Mike. That makes sense to me. And Lilana says, I do this to keep from being impulsive. I ask myself, is this a want or need? If want, is this an impulsive buy? How many times will I use that item? Is a single use item worth the amount of money they want to sell it for? Am I willing to spend that for a single use item? If not, then it's a no go. If it's on the fence, yes, no decision. I text or call my husband to ask him what he thinks, and if I'm being impulsive, and to give me a grounded response. And I know he's supportive, but also realistic. This is good because, like, if I'm thinking about buying something and I'm reading this, after I'm done reading it, I'm not gonna buy it. I'm gonna be like, whatever. So if you can get to this point, is good for me. I don't even do this. I just kind of, buy it or I don't buy it. But there was a point where my sister and I, if something was like over $500, we'd call each other to make sure that we needed it. And sometimes I didn't really need it, but I thought I needed it, and I'm like, all right, is this worth, putting on my credit card. So sometimes it is good to talk to other people and figure out if you really want it. Christopher, I've done the video on this before, but that dog makes me laugh. I like that. I like that dog. But hey, it's a new year, so I like to do a video on it again. Every year to make sure I don't get bored. Every year I'll figure out new ways to talk about the same things, which is what I've been doing. But we can talk about health anxiety. Sienna says buying leads to collecting things with ADHD. It can lead to hoarding, especially when you tell yourself you're purchasing it because you're going to use it for a specific reason or occasion. Yeah, and that's why people end up with a lot of things. And there's this, what's the term for it? It's like minimalism. Is that it? Where people see how little they can live with. And at some point, I'm gonna be a minimalist. But that day is not today. But at some point, I'm gonna see how many things I can get rid of and what I need and what I don't, what I don't need. Oh boy. Um, Channing, maybe when we do that live where we talk about meds, I'll try and discuss this more. But real quick, Adderall is like more of the um mixed amphetamines, right? That type of class, and then uh Ritalin is like the methylphenidate side. So they're similar in the sense that they're both stimulants and they're up for ADHD, but different amounts of norepinephrine and dopamine, right? But I would say that they're cousins. I would call Adderall and Ritalin cousins. I mean, I made up the cousins part, but that's how I remember it. All right. My therapist says I have severe ADHD. Is that possible, or is there just really? Uh, I can't go toe to toe with your therapist, but maybe they mean that it impacts you a lot. Is that what they mean? Oh, I like so Tracy, you're right. Target is the best and worst place. But I like CVS. I like CVS because you can get in and get out. They didn't pay me to say that, even though I work with them. But Target is and nothing's wrong with Target. Like I don't want to get myself in trouble, but it's like when you go in there, I always need something. Kenneth says, give yourself 24 hours. If you're still thinking about it as much as you were before, then get it. So this is actually, I think this is as I love this show right here. This is one of the best pieces of advice that I think we can all take from this. If you're still thinking about something after 24 hours, then you should go ahead and either get it or not get it, because you get a chance to sleep on it. And when you sleep on it, you can take the emotion out of it. I like to wait before I have to make a big decision, because I'm like, should I do this? Should I do that? Sometimes I have to sleep on it for more than one day and figure out if I really, really want this thing. And normally, there's times when I'm like, I didn't need this thing. And then I'm so happy that I didn't spend $600 on something, right? Because keep in mind when you see commercials on TV, they're gonna hit you right, in your heart. So you're gonna feel a way about it emotionally, and you may just go ahead and buy something, right? So if you can give yourself a little bit of time, that would be helpful. I never get love the show. Well, you get love the show today. You love the show today. I like CVS and Extra Bucks. And I love CVS too. All right, Mickey Ficky. Thank you. All right, I do have to get off so I can get to a couple more emails. Mickey Ficky. Ah, I was diagnosed with ADHD at 33. I'm not sure if it's Desiree or I'm gonna guess Desiree, but yes, this is why we're gonna have that week where we talk about ADHD in women. Somebody put that in the Discord, so we'll do that because uh, sometimes women just have to wait longer to get diagnosed. And it's funny because I was on a podcast with Danny Lopriore. He's a comedian based out of New York City. And we're two guys, right? Just talking. He's talking about, I'm talking about ADHD and, what I'm doing in LA and videos and comedy and all this. And he's a comedian in New York. And he was talking about how he also was in special ed growing up, bipolar disorder and different things. And at the end of the podcast, he asked a weird question. He asked why women have to wait so long to get diagnosed. But I thought it was a really cool question because sometimes as guys, right, we can relate to each other and we forget that, women also struggle with ADHD and that they have to wait sometimes twice as long to get a proper diagnosis, so this is something that we talked about it before, but I'll definitely make sure that I talk about it more moving forward. And see, Kim saying she was 36, right? So yeah, this is something that we're seeing a lot. And Mickey Ficky. Mickey Ficky. All right, okay, all right, I gotta get out of here. What's today? All right, today's Thursday, so this is the last show of the week. We'll be back next week, Monday. So Monday is a holiday, Martin Luther King. Oh shoot. So we'll be back on the 17th. We'll be back on the 17th. Yeah. The past couple of months, my team and I have been taking holidays off, and I don't like it because I don't like not working. I like working, but I told the team that I would try my best to not work on holidays. So we'll be back on the 17th next week. But I may have to go to New York. We'll see. We'll figure this thing out. I don't know how life works, but as of now, the next live stream will be back on Tuesday the 17th at 6:00 California time and 9:00 on the East Coast time. Okay. All right. Love y'all. I will see y'all later. My schedule's all over the place.